Okay, morning. So I have had a haircut done by me to make me look less like Hagrid, but we thought we'd kick off the South Devon Rivers video series with a site I personally like, which is the Paddle Steamer the Kingswear Castle. So it is often referred to as PS Kingswear Castle, and the PS just stands for Paddle Steamer. It is a hulk and it is located on the River Dart. For those of you that don't know where the River Dart is bang smack in the middle of the South Devon Rivers Discovery Programme area. It has a tidal reach all the way up to Top Ness, and that's the bit we're interested in as Citizen. The site we're on about, the Kingswear Castle, is located at Fleet Mill, and it is located at Fleet Mill Quay. So that's up in the upper reaches of this tidal reach towards Stoke Gabriel and Top Ness. Okay, so the site has been studied before. In 2018, it was looked at as part of the Forgotten Wrecks of the First World War project by the Maritime Archaeology Trust. So that gives you kind of background into the location and where it is, and now we're just going to go through the history. The history of the Kingswear Castle. The Kingswear Castle was built in 1904. It was launched in June 1904, and it was built by Cox & Co. over in Falmouth. So it then took a 7.5-hour trip round from Falmouth to Dartmouth to be delivered in August 1904. So, the Kingswear Castle was a vessel specifically built for the River Dart. It was commissioned for the River Dart Steamboat Company. It, due to that, has an incredibly shallow draft of only about 3 foot, which makes it perfect for rivers, but not great if you were taking it to sea. So when it was built, she was 32.7 metres long and had a beam of 4.6 metres. So the beam is the distance across the vessel. So the 4.6 metres does not include the paddles. So the paddles themselves would have added an additional 3 metres on either side of the vessel. So the vessel is used as a passenger ferry with an approximate capacity around 400 from 1904 all the way through to 1924. So it's 1924 when this vessel, in my opinion, gets interesting. The first thing that's interesting about the Kingswear Castle's history after it is a passenger ferry is the reuse of its engines into the currently afloat replacement of the same name. So in the process of hulking, which is a process where they strip the engines to essentially to make a lighter or a barge, where they just tow the vessel around and with no propulsion, they remove the engines of this original Kingswear Castle that's at Fleet Mill Quay, and then put them into the currently afloat Kingswear Castle. Okay, so the second thing that is fascinating about the Kingswear Castle's history after its use as a passenger ferry is its use as an isolation hospital ship. So in 1924, when the ship is hulked, they take the engine, put it into the Kingswear Castle, the next Kingswear Castle, which is its replacement, but they also refit the ship as a isolation hospital ship. So this ties into a blog that we wrote about the Mayfly, which is the previous isolation hospital ship, and the idea of an isolation hospital ship is to quarantine contagious diseases. So in this case it's yellow fever. So they strip it down, and it is used from 1924 to 1927, where it is moored in Dartmouth Harbour as an isolation hospital ship for yellow fever. Then in 1927, it is deemed that there is no longer a need for a hospital isolation ship. So then it is sold to Bettinson's, a famous boat broker on the River Dart. It is towed up to Fleet Mill Quay, where it is left to deteriorate, and that's where it is now. Okay, so that's enough about the history. Let's go to what you can see on the site today. So on the sites, you can still see the paddle wheel boxes. So these were, as I said previously, the wheels are 3 metres wide on either side of the vessel, and you can see these paddle wheel boxes that would protect the sponson, which is where the wheel attaches to the ship. You can still see the full extent from bow to stern. You can see partial parts of the rudder assemblage. At high tide, you can see barely anything. You can only see about the top foot of the vessel, and then at low tide, the vessel is completely exposed. So why we actually are studying them? So there isn't that many paddle steamers left. There isn't that many remains of a paddle steamer left to study, especially one that is specifically designed for one river. So in the course of the Citizen Project, we are hoping to record all the paddle steamers within the Discovery Programme area, and we'll let you know how that goes. Okay, so I hope that gives you a little kind of summary of the Kingswear Castle and what it is about. And if you are on the ferry from Top Ness to Dartmouth, or the opposite way around, it will probably be pointed out to you, but now you'll know a little bit more about the history of that site.